welcome to PeopleTools Tech Tips. I'm Randy Groncki, and today I'm asking, is that menu item authorized? Hi, working in PeopleTools this week, and I was creating a component page, and inside this page we had a grid, and that grid had an entire list of different links for the users to connect to as their business requires. However, this page is going to be available to a lot of different users, and the security for those users are not all the same. So I can't allow the users to click on those links if they don't have access to the endpoint where they're going to. So what do? Well, we have a couple good options. We have that IsUserInRole or IsUserInPermisionList, but that works and that gives us a Boolean yes or no, but unfortunately we have to know all the roles and permission lists that have access to this page, and if it changes, something adds or removes later, we'll have to update the code to make that security selection correct again. Well, another option is a create PeopleCode command called IsMenuItemAuthorized. And basically this just lets you ask PeopleTools itself, here's the path given the menu and the component in the page. Is this authorized to this current user? And it returns you a Boolean answer, so it says yes or no. And then based upon that, you can do whatever you want. Hide it, maybe gray it, display only it, do some other action. However, in my case, what I chose to do is we tested each of these links for that particular user, and then what we did is hid that row if the user didn't have access to that. Now, one of the beauties of this IsMenuItemAuthorized is I don't have to recode, back engineer how PeopleSoft came up with that security, and I don't have to hard code anything. I know the user, I know how to get to the component page. I just ask PeopleTools through a delivered function, is this user authorized to do that? And then we make our choice from there. So before we start into our demo, just remember that all objects you see here in our demonstration are available out on PeopleToolsTechTips.com and also our GitHub site, PeopleTools Tech Tips. So let's take a closer look on how IsMenuItemAuthorized works and how we can apply it in some of our code in a very basic, simple example that I hope will show you how powerful this function is and how actually lightweight coding it is on us to implement it to allow PeopleTools to give us the answer that we need. Okay, so let's look at PeopleSoft and see our demo application. Sign in as Betty Lockerty and navigate to our special demonstration page here. Basically, it's just an employee lookup page where, given an employee ID, this will just show that employee's name. This page is for all employees to see. That's all it does. But if you're a manager, there's a Go to Confidential Page button. When clicked, the user is transferred to a page showing the detailed confidential information about that employee and their job. And only managers have that. Let's sign out as Betty, and we want to sign back in as Rebecca Jones. Rebecca is just a normal employee, not a manager and not an admin. Navigate the menu and we see she only has the employee lookup page and not the confidential admin info. Look up an employee and we see we have the name, but the button to go to the confidential page is grayed out by PeopleSoft. How can we change this so the button doesn't even appear if the user doesn't have access to the started page? Let's look at the objects. This is the employee component that everybody gets. That just brings up name when they select an employee ID. It's just the name and a button. And then we have our admin component, which shows the detail in that employee, the job, more info than just the name that only managers and admins have. Sign out and sign back in as our development user, and let's see how the security is set to divide the managers from the employees. Let's go to security for permissions and roles. Let's look at our permission list that separates the managers from the employees first, and then we'll look at our admin permission list that has that extra component. So we go to the menu and the components, and we see this just has the management component page access that they can use, not the employee page. Going back to the permission list employee that all employees get, and we see the component that they have access is the all page, which all employees get, where they can look up the name of an employee. Now these each have a corresponding role, the same name as the permission list, and that's what we're going to apply to the employee. Let's look at the user profiles for Betty Lockerty, the manager, and Rebecca Jones, the employee. Betty Lockerty. We go to the roles page, show all, and scroll to the bottom. And we see that she has both roles, the admin and the employee one, so she can see both pages, the employee name lookup and the detail. Now let's look at the user Rebecca Jones and search that and a role page. We can scroll down to the bottom and we can see she only has the employee permission list. She can only see the name, controlled by the permission list. PeopleTools knows which page the user is allowed. Let's look at the page and how the button is controlled. So here's the page and here's the button, and we can see the button is not a hyperlink, but an internal link. And we can use the configuration to point it towards the admin page in update display mode. You see, we're going to use the data from the current page in the search. Now PeopleTools knows by the user's permission whether the user has access to that target page or not, and will gray out or enable the button accordingly. Let's look at the post-build PeopleCode. On build, we are hiding the empty name field and the button that they just can't use yet. Employee ID search button. On field change, we load the name field and make it visible. What we want to do is add code to hide the button if it's grayed out. If PeopleTools has decided that this user doesn't have access to navigate to that target page, we don't even want to show them the button. So what we're going to do is use the IsMenuItemAuthorized command, and that returns a boolean. And here's how you set it up. Our boolean and BL show page equals IsMenuItemAuthorized, and we're going to load it up with the parameters. First parameter is the menu that the navigation is on. So we'll just drag that menu right over here and put it there. Our second parameter is actually the bar name of the menu that this component is on. So it's bar name dot. We can look at the menu and see the bar name property to see the name of the bar. And the actual name of the bar is admin. Our next parameter is the item name, and really the best place to go get this is from the component. Go to the component, you see the item name, copy the value right here, and item name dot, and that value we just copied. And the next parameter is the target page. An easy way to get this is just drag it over from the project. And the final parameter is access mode, and it's an optional one. If we leave it out, it'll use the current access mode of the user's current page. However, we can specifically declare what access we want. We're going to put a U here for the update display, close parentheses. And what we have at this point says true or false whether that user has access. So we'll just use that boolean value to show or hide the button. We know the button and the scroll level. Just drag that record field over here and then the property is visible equals the boolean we just got from PeopleTools, and that's all it is. We save. Now let's test this out. First, we want to sign in as Betty. She navigates to the page and selects the employee ID. The button is visible and enabled, and it works, and it transfers us to the target admin page. So let's sign out and sign back again as Rebecca Jones. Rebecca navigates to the same employee lookup page and looks up an employee. But the button isn't even displayed because PeopleTools knows that she doesn't have access to that target page. And we took that Boolean result and used it to hide the button. So, IsMenuItemAuthorized, a great tool that we come back again and again to let PeopleTools tell us what is correct for this user in this session. Well, thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing to our channel, and we'll see you next time here on PeopleTools Tech Tips.